welcome to this special Saturday episode. Phil Foster and I. Well, actually, let me introduce my co-host, Phil Foster. Phil, listen, man. Tell my audience a little bit about yourself and the things that you get involved in, and I'll introduce the show and what we intend to do, man.
Hey, what's going on, Donovan? It's great to be here today. My name is Phil Foster. You can find me everywhere at Phil Foster _ on all social platforms. I do a little bit of everything. Big thing is the hormones and fitness. Okay, so as far as supplements, training through the app, and then actually hormone optimization therapy. Unfortunately, this past year, the FDA and DEA actually changed up the rules a little bit. So as far as telemedicine goes, I can no longer do the actual consulting online, but I can point you in the right direction to get you going in the hormone optimization world.
Good stuff, man. Yeah. So before we get into this, talk a little bit about the new regulations. When did these come down, and how does this affect guys like you and me who take this stuff on the regular?
Yeah. So what had happened is basically they recognized. I mean, I would say probably in the November, October of last year is when things kind of flipped around. And what they did was the big way for hormone optimization to work is through telemedicine. Okay, and that's treating yourself at home. And so that's what I was a big proponent of. I was trying to get guys away from doing the brick and mortar thing, like going and paying a brick and mortar establishment, going to a doctor or a clinic and getting the jab once or twice a week.
Yes.
I was trying to get these guys to go ahead and take care of themselves and treat themselves at home. It's far more cost effective. And so the rules changed. And basically what they did is they took it away to where I could actually help anybody in any state in the continental United States to where they can only be in the state of Texas.
Oh, that sucks.
Okay. So that, yeah. And so like if I lived in, say, like Washington State, I could only help guys in Washington State.
Oh,
And so that really destabilized the whole telemedicine market. And so there was a big shakeup towards the beginning of 23
okay.
and towards the middle of 23, and guys trying to kind of get their things worked out because their providers could no longer provide for them. And so when you're trying to get guys on hormone replacement therapy, the big thing is understanding two things. It's cost, number
Okay.
one, versus feeling,
Oh, okay.
number two. And that's the big thing, right? Is
Okay.
you start going to a brick and mortar place, Donovan. I mean, you can pay upwards of $120 a week
Oh my God.
for
Yes.
home. It's insane.
It is absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I remember before I let you go on, I remember the very first time I looked into TRT, I went to a clinic, and my first shot, my first clinic, all that good stuff, I think I paid like $800, man.
Oh yeah.
$800.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
absolutely, and I actually thought I was fortunate to be able to, pay $800. Oh my God, I found the fountain of youth testosterone replacement therapy, but that's too much money. It's too expensive.
Yeah, it's insane, and that's the big thing, and that's why I became a big proponent early on in the telemedicine industry, is because I started working with a provider, Florida Alternative Medicine down in Florida,
Absolutely.
and basically I started promoting them, and then through digital connections through the internet, obviously Twitter, Facebook, and all these other places, and some of the circles that we run, I started recognizing a correlation between a lack of masculinity and a lack of testosterone. And I was like, well, let's put the two of these together and see what can happen.
Okay.
And so
I like that.
I think that, yeah, for sure, man, because they correlate, whether
Yes,
you want to believe it or not.
They absolutely do. Yes, they do.
So, that's kind of how that shook out. And so, telemedicine is a really great thing because it's literally, I would say, a third of the cost yearly versus going to
Wow.
a brick and mortar establishment. If you think about that, you're probably going to do, with telemedicine, you're going to go ahead and get therapy for yourself on a 10-week cycle.
Right.
And so that's about 5 cycles of therapy worth of testosterone a year versus going every week and getting, misdiagnosed, number one, number
Yep.
two, getting your levels completely thrown out of whack.
Wow. So as you guys can see, the reason why I'm doing a podcast with this guy is because, Phil, you are the most knowledgeable person I know in terms of in terms of hormone replacement therapy, HRT, that I have ever talked to. And this is exactly why I partnered up with you. So now that you guys know that Phil knows exactly what he's talking about, let me talk briefly before we get into today's main topic about the purpose for us being here and what we hope to accomplish. So the name of this podcast is called Men of a Certain Age. I'm 46 years old. I'll be 47 in August. Phil, you are how old?
I'm going to be 51 this year, man.
But listen, it's funny.
Half a century.
Look, half a century, but you are in better shape than most people. He's almost 51 years old and he's ripped. It's unbelievable. And we see pictures of guys like you in ads all the time. Do you want to look like this? Do you want to feel like this? And people think it's sort of a scam or Nugenics Total T. And you are living proof that men can absolutely be in phenomenal shape after the age of 40, but it takes work and it takes the right hormone replacement therapy. Does that sound about
100%, 100%. 100%.
Excellent.
They got to be able to do the work, right, Donovan?
Right.
So that's the thing is, communicating it to them is one thing, but they have to actually apply that science to themselves. I think that a lot of guys, they get on hormone replacement therapy, expecting it to be a silver bullet. They're going to go ahead and start their therapy and it's like, oh, I'm going to lose all this weight, but you still have to put the work into,
Absolutely.
Controlling your nutrition and exercise as well.
Absolutely. Like I was saying, what this podcast is going to focus on, it's going to focus on health for men over 40. Now, if you're not over 40, don't worry. You can still watch this. Jay Blaze is in the chat. I think Jay Blaze is in his late 20s. I think, at least he looks like he's in his late 20s. This could definitely benefit the younger guys. Talk to my audience, Phil, about how this podcast could possibly positively impact the younger guys in our audience.
It's interesting, right, Donovan? A lot of guys, even though this is for guys that are over 40, sure. Believe it or not, I have a lot of clients that are under 25.
Really?
It is one of the craziest things that I've ever seen, and it seems like it's more and more. These guys are younger, and so it's even though we are focusing this towards guys of a certain age, right? Gents, if you're younger and you have some of the symptoms that Donovan and I are going to talk about today, I would definitely go ahead and take a look at that. I've seen guys as young as 21 years old, Donovan, that are hypogonadal. How do you explain
that? How do you explain that, Phil? How do you explain that there are men as young as 21, you say hypergonadism? Say that again?
They're hypergonadal, so they lack natural testosterone production in their testes. 100%.
The layman's term, and Phil is a fucking wizard. I'm gonna have to ask you to dumb this down several times because you're like a fucking PhD in this shit. Basically, you have small nuts because your balls aren't making enough testosterone.
Okay, let's go to the street version. Let's go to the street version. It's not necessarily the size of the walnuts. It's how much testosterone they can produce. And so unfortunately what happens is if you're hypogonadal, what happens is your testosterone just lack the ability to actually produce enough natural testosterone in your body for your body to function normally.
Okay.
And so a lot of things affect that, right? It could be genetic. Genetics is a big problem. Number two is environment, your stress in your life, and the way you've abused your body. You would say, well, geez, the guy's only 21 years old. How much could he have abused his body? Well, let's think back to when he was 3 and 4 years old getting candy from mom and dad instead of attention. Let's think of all the trash they've eaten over the years up into this point in their life. A lot of these chemicals that are in our food products, believe it or not, have a massive effect on how your body produces testosterone and hormones in general in your body.
Wow, this is incredible. And a lot of people, Phil, aren't aware of this until they go to one of these brick and mortar places and then they find out. They're like, oh, this is why my testosterone is 259 nanograms per deciliter. And don't get it twisted. I'm not that. That's the only term I know. That's the only thing I can make myself say that'll make myself look smart. So let's talk about testosterone replacement therapy. A little bit later on in the season, guys, we are going to get into the quote-unquote dark arts. Yes, eventually we are going to talk about anabolics and things of that nature. But like I said, this is going to be TRT for Dummies. Like I said, this is the Men of a Certain Age podcast. I'm here with my good friend and the smartest dude I have ever met in terms of hormone replacement therapy, Phil Foster. You can find him at it's philfoster.com, correct?
It's philfosterfitness.com.
philfosterfitness.com. This guy has all the creds. Follow him all over social media, philfoster_, and you guys will see pictures of him. Like, dude, I think I saw you do like a farmer's walk one time, and I was like, this dude, it blows my mind the shape that you're in at your age. So talk to my guys about, because in my mind, correct me if I'm right or wrong, to me, in terms of hormone replacement therapy, it all begins and ends with testosterone replacement therapy. As far as I'm concerned, to me, that is the foundation, that is the building blocks for everything else to come.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of guys out here that have said this statement, and I agree with it 100%. And
Okay.
Testosterone is 100% man juice.
Yes.
It is the fuel that fuels the male body. Okay. Obviously your food fuels you as well. But,
Sure.
If you are lacking in testosterone, you are lacking in masculinity, you're lacking in strength, you're lacking in social acuity, you're lacking in smarts, you're lacking in it all. Testosterone, believe it or not, controls not only every organ in your body, but every process is associated with testosterone in the male body. So it's important to understand that when you start with the TRT, realizing that if you are lacking in one area, you're more than lacking in several areas. You're just asleep to those areas being lacking.
Right. You're not even aware of it at some point.
Yeah, it's just like it becomes a part of your life, so being a man is a thankless job, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're thankless. It's a thankless job to be a man.
Man, that's the best description right there, brother.
Yeah, so it's a thankless job. So what happens is as men, we just kind of put our head down and forge through. Well, I feel a little bit off. It's just part of life. I'm getting older.
Sure.
Oh, I need a nap in the afternoon. Oh, I can't lose the weight anymore. It's because I drink and eat too much. I don't have the emotional intelligence anymore. Basically, I react to everything poorly. I'm not assertive anymore. I've got depression or anxiety. This is just part of life.
Of course.
I'm going to keep my head down and grinding forward.
Ay. So what are some of the symptoms? So, and by the way, guys, I've opened up the chat. If you guys have questions, put them in the chat. Put your questions in the chat. Like I said, we're live on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We're live everywhere. I've got all the chats up. If you guys have questions for Phil, he is the expert. Put them in the chat, and we will answer, or Phil will answer them the best way they can be answered. It's not as best we can. Phil knows the answers. Dr. Thunder's in the chat, said, Donovan Sharpe, been on TRT for a few months now, feeling so much better. Dr. Thunder can bench 4 plates. So he certainly was not lacking in masculinity there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got guys in the chat. J Blaze is 38. EP Signature said I'm 39, possibly looking into TRT. Captain Red Pill is 40. So what are some of these signs, Phil, that a man needs to consider doing testosterone replacement therapy, which is what TRT stands for?
100%. I'm going to go ahead and speak about my own experience.
Absolutely.
If you're comfortable with that.
Oh,
yeah. So let's talk about
course.
myself, my experience and what I've went through. So I noticed around 38, 39, I started having a lot of cognitive problems, like brain fog.
Wow.
Like I was a chronic, if I didn't have it written down, I wouldn't get it done. So if you gave me a list of 7 things to do in running one of my businesses, I would never accomplish them all if I didn't have it written down. I suffered from brain fog massively.
Okay.
And it was almost like I was walking in a dream state most of the time.
Jeez.
And I was like, what's up with this? And along with that, I had some depression and some anxiety as well. A lot of that is obviously trauma brought on, through some of the things I've experienced in my life as a man. But,
of course.
they were exacerbated because of my low testosterone levels. And so at 39 years old, I went to a brick and mortar. It was called T-Off Men's Clinic here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And they tested my blood work, and they tested my blood, and I came back at 281. Yeah, it was like, I was in the tank, man.
Phil, you were
at
woman.
39 years old. Yeah, so man, it was so bad. It was so bad.
You were Philippa. You weren't Philip. You were Philippa. Philippa.
Philippa. Yeah, Philippa.
Listen, before I went, I was Edwina before I went. So hey, I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah. So I was sub 300. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And my provider at that time, she was a female. She's like, yeah, you're low T. Let's go ahead and check it in 2 more weeks, and then we'll start your therapy. They did another test. And once again, it was super low like that. It was under 300. And so they started me on hormone replacement therapy. And this is the primary reason why I started getting into telemedicine.
Okay.
I started on their protocol there, and they started me at like 180 milligrams once a week.
Okay.
And so I would feel really amazing for probably 3 or 4 days because my levels would go way up.
Okay.
And then I would start to crash out. My levels would start to fall out. And so what they did is they started increasing my dosages weekly, and my estrogen went through the roof. So I had high estrogen, and they drove my blood pressure up because of water retention.
Okay.
And so we did some more blood work, and they discovered that I am what's called a fast metabolizer. Okay, so there's some people out there that metabolize testosterone faster than others. And so in the beginning of this whole thing, so you got to think back to when I was 39. I mean, geez, it's 2024. So that's going to be that's a long time, 11 years.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's a long time ago. And this is when it first started, so we started splitting my dose. Okay. And I discovered that my levels would stay at a more appropriate level. And so I was able to control my estrogen and get my testosterone levels up. Wasn't feeling so sick.
Okay.
And so it wasn't necessarily sexual function because, I would knock a hole in anything at that point in time in my life, even with low T. And I think it had a lot to do with my age.
Okay.
I think it was more of the cognitive function, the depression and anxiety. And so once we got my hormones balanced, a lot of those symptoms started to really fall away.
Good.
And so as those symptoms started falling away, I became more assertive in social situations, with my business, with my relationships. Wow. My assertiveness started to come back, and my drive as a man. So so these symptoms that I would say guys need to look out for is, brain fog. If you're having a hard time keeping on top of things, if you're tired in the afternoon, and I'm not talking about you go out to the buffet with your girl and wolf down a bunch of carbs and you get tired in the afternoon. I'm talking about you are tired every day in the afternoon. You almost feel like you need to take a nap at like between 1 and 3 o'clock. Depression, anxiety, trouble losing weight, emotional control, like you want to react like a female. That's a clear indication. Lack of assertiveness. Okay. Basically, if you were to pick up Dr. Glover's book and exhibit any nice guy tendency, you are more than likely struggling with low T. These symptoms, as I started to address my hormones, they started to fall away one by one. Through the replacement therapy, I started getting in better shape and got into tip-top shape. And that is because you get the drive. Your drive is back. And it's like you almost wake up out of it after about 4 to 6 months and you go, geez, what have I been? I've wasted so many years feeling like crap. Why did I ignore this? Right? Because you got your drive back. You got your man juice back, man.
I got a question. Listen, the questions are coming in. They are flying in, man. And these are very, very good questions. So Nova Too Young says, why do you need TRT? He actually asks 3 questions, but they can all be answered the same way. He says, why do you need TRT? Why not just go to the gym or take ashwagandha? Then he says, I don't understand why we need therapy to get testosterone. I thought you just have it. So what is your answer to Nova Too Young?
Okay, so let's start with, I want you to break down each question. So the first question was, why do you need TRT? Why not just go to the gym? Okay, so if you are suffering from any of the symptoms that I just mentioned, just in the first little section of this discussion, more than likely you are low T. The best thing to do is get your blood tested. So that's why you would need it. Is if you are suboptimal like I was, and I'm talking about my personal experience. Sure. So I was under 300. Okay. Right now I walk around anywhere between 11 and 1500.
Whoa, high octane, baby.
And I feel great. I've been like that for 9-10 years now.
Fucking awesome, dude.
Every one of my biomarkers is like in the best it could ever be.
Wow.
Everything.
So you are a well-oiled machine now.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir. And so that would be my first statement is why live a suboptimal life when you can live the best life possible? I mean, treating how you feel is an important thing. What was the second question?
The second question was, give me 1 second. He said, why not just go to the gym or take ashwagandha?
Yeah, okay. So that's a great question. Okay. So, and I'm glad he brought up the natural. So I'm not saying, and I'm not knocking guys that want to do it the natural homeopathic way. Now, there's a lot of guys out there, unfortunately, that have damaged their endocrine systems to the point to where those natural homeopathic standards of increasing your testosterone levels won't work. There's a big pushback about 6-8 years ago on Twitter and all over social media about how you can deadlift and like eat 3 ribeyes and do this and sun your balls, and you're going to increase your T levels by 500%.
Right.
Well, the reality is that most natural boosters will only give you 10%. So let's say that we'll just call it 300, and you give 10%. That's only 330. I'm still suboptimal.
Right. Right.
So that is why the naturals generally don't work for most people. I'm not saying everyone. There is a small percentage of people that'll respond to it.
Okay.
And so going to the gym will increase your T levels to a point. Once again, it's a very small percentage, Donovan.
Okay.
But when you start to really train like a guy like you or myself or other gentlemen that are out there in the gym really putting in the work, you actually deplete your testosterone levels training. So it just depends on your training, you know. So, and his third question was?
I don't understand why we need therapy to get testosterone. I thought you just have it.
You do just have it, but the reason why you need therapy, my friend, is because your body can't naturally produce enough of it to let you run an optimal life.
As you age, it gets lower and lower and lower.
100%.
Absolutely, which is why we call this men of a certain age. Speaking of suboptimal, Rob C has a very good question. He says 300, talking about your T levels, he says is normal. No.
That is, and this was Rob. This was Rob who?
This is Rob C. Rob C.
Yeah, Rob C, 100%. Unfortunately, when you do your blood test, what they do is they take a certain demographic. So they calculate your height, age, your weight, and they kind of pull you guys together. And so that tells you what the average median is of people with testosterone in your area. Okay, so that's the problem with it. And that's the big thing, right? Is so you go to a normal care practitioner and he says, okay, well, you know, I feel awful. I want you to test my testosterone. First off, he's only going to test your total test. He's not going to test your free test. Number two, your blood work's going to come back what's normal in your demographic.
Wow. But
you still feel like crap. Okay. And so you got to get guys, and that's a great question, Rob, because I want you to understand that you need to understand you're treating how you feel, not a number.
Right.
Donovan might run like he might feel like God's gift to earth at 937, where I might run and feel like God's gift to earth at 1172.
Right.
You know, it's not a number specific thing. It's how you feel and how your life is actualized, how integrated you are.
Absolutely, man. He asks a second question. This is a very good question. He says, once you're on, there's no going off, right?
Okay, 100%, Rob C. Now, it's a double-edged sword, 100%. If you are suboptimal and you start hormone replacement therapy and you decide one day, you know, I don't want to do hormone replacement therapy, your body will go back down to the level that you were at prior to starting, or you might lose 10% more. So say I was at 300 and I'm up in the 1115 range, and I looked at myself and I said in the mirror and I said, you know what, I'm done. No more. I don't want to feel great anymore. I don't want to have an amazing life anymore. I'm off. I would go down to anywhere from 270 to 300, and that'd be about where I was. And so, basically, Walking Dead. So you're absolutely correct. But why would you want to go off of your therapy if you receive so many wonderful benefits from it? Because your body is running so optimized.
Yes. I don't know why you would want to go off of it. If you're feeling, just like you said, if you're feeling like you can conquer the world, if your body is a well-oiled machine, you look good, you feel good, you're working out, you're in fantastic shape, I don't really see a reason why any man would want to stop that. So I think listen, it is a choice. You don't have to be on it for the rest of your life, but to me personally, I wouldn't recommend it, and I don't get the idea that you would either, Phil.
No, not at all. I mean, and it's interesting. I mean, Donovan, if you were to come at me and say, "Hey, man, I can't believe you're doing that," like say you were just naturally, your T levels were naturally high.
Sure.
And you came to me, and you're like, "Well, why do you even do that?" It's because, well, Donovan, I want to feel good like you feel. You know, I want to be assertive. I want to be in good shape. I want all my blood work to come back above average normal. I want to be a healthy individual and have a long lasting life. See, hormones are they literally control everything in the human body. So, you know, there's a lot of people out there that, remember I mentioned, like, we'll just pick depression and anxiety, for instance.
Right.
There's so many people that have depression and anxiety that are misdiagnosed. Their hormones are off.
Wow. Now that
I don't know how. I don't know how many people that have got on to their therapy and corrected their hormone issues, and the SSRs that they're on for anxiety and depression.
Don't need them anymore.
Gone.
That is now, dude, Phil, this is something I did not know. Now, I knew that it helped with anxiety and depression, but I had never heard of guys having anxiety and depression and getting on testosterone replacement therapy as opposed to these meds that can really sap your strength and further lower your testosterone actually working.
Yeah, 100%. It's, the sick care system. That's what I like to call it, Donovan. They like to throw things at it. Yes. It's kind of like a part swapper at a garage. You bring your car in there, he's going to throw parts at it until it fixes.
Right.
Well, they just want to band-aid the issue. They don't want you well.
Right.
They don't want you assertive and integrated as a man. They want you sick so they can make money off of you.
That's right. They don't want to cure diseases. They want to treat them.
Yeah, 100%.
Here's a very, very good question from Joe Salazar. This is a very good question. He says, how do you manage the increase in estrogen that occurs when you increase your testosterone levels?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So basically what happens is once you go through the process of doing your blood work and you get with a provider, the provider is going to put together what's called a protocol. That protocol is going to include some testosterone replacement therapy for you, which is xenogenous testosterone that you'll inject.
Okay.
And that's by far that is the most superior version of testosterone you can do. You have some companies out there that are offering an oral. I wouldn't recommend that, and I wouldn't recommend the pellets either. Just go and just give yourself a simple injection once, twice a week, or 3 times a week, and you're good. Very small amount. They're also going to give you something to protect your testes and keep the feedback loop open between your testes and your pituitary gland.
Right.
That's called HCG. Okay. And that's something that it's going to stimulate your body to produce natural testosterone as well. Another thing they're going to give you is an estradiol now, or Armidex, and this is what's called an Yeah, you've probably heard of that product before. This product was designed basically for women that were suffering. Believe it or not, it was designed for women that had breast cancer.
That's
okay,
right.
It was to reduce estrogen in their bodies. Okay, so. It's a very, 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 very small amount that you take. So like literally 1 milligram of that material a week in your body, broken up into 2 to 3 doses, will keep your estrogen 100% in check and lower it to a natural level.
Love it, man.
So you don't need a whole lot. So that's how you control your estrogen.
Okay, very good.
With estrogen blocker. Yeah.
So the estrogen blocker is called Arimidex. Now that is the name. That's the brand name. What's the actual
Anastrozole?
Anastrozole. That's it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anastrozole or
Arimidex. Yes.
Got it. Yeah, Kenty said, don't you also need an estrogen blocker? That's exactly what we just talked about. Kenty
100%.
So Kenty, wow, boy, guys are escalating this. Here we go. He says, can you take human growth hormone along with testosterone replacement therapy?
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can answer that one. The answer is hell yes, you can. Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
So would you like me to talk about the growth hormone for a little bit?
Please, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the great thing about growth hormone is it literally, for guys of a certain age, like what this podcast is designed for,
that's right,
is it actually turns back the clock. And I want people to understand that not only men can do growth hormone, but women can do it as well.
Absolutely.
There's certain groups of people out there that shouldn't do growth hormone. Those are people that have recovered from cancer, because that could exacerbate, cause that cancer to start back up, or certain biological or blood diseases. You got to be real careful with that.
Absolutely.
But therapeutic doses of growth hormone have shown in several studies to improve weight loss, metabolic function, and then the general health of your body. Okay, so we're talking every organ in your body, from your skin to all your internal organs. And your overall health. Donovan and I have talked several times about growth hormone. It's almost like you can tell when someone is doing it at a therapeutic level, because they almost glow. They look so healthy. They look so good. They almost sparkle. Yeah. And it's because you're putting those precursors into your body. So 100%, I would encourage growth hormone if you're struggling with those things. It will definitely help you. in the long run. You can actually compound growth hormone with testosterone replacement therapy.
It's absolutely incredible when people call growth hormone the fountain of youth. It's pretty crazy just how effective it is. Ken Rose with the $2 Rumble rant. I appreciate that over there on Rumble. So it looks like we have and listen, if you guys disagree, we're happy to
Let's debate it. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Let's talk.
So Yo Adrian, I wonder if that's really Rocky. He says, don't take estrogen blockers. It's not true. I keep mine low by microdosing everyday TRT. Also, as long as testosterone is 10-to-1, the VER estrogen, you're fine. That's YOU''RE. I can't imagine injecting myself every single day with testosterone. So what is your so what is your response to don't take estrogen blockers? It's not true. He keeps his low by microdosing every day.
Okay, so first off, shout out to you. His name was Rocky, right?
Well, we're gonna call him Rocky because it's Yo Adrian.
Okay, Yo Adrian. Yeah, that's good. Shout out to you first off for getting down and dirty into the science of it. Right, you've discovered that through microdosing, that you can control your estrogen. 100% you can. I will agree with you on that. I will tell you, for the common man that has a full-time job, that has a side hustle, that has a wife, that has kids, that has responsibilities, he does not have the time to be that specific to break it down. So what happens is normally, and I would say 99% of the time, most guys that get on therapy have to do an estrogen blocker because they need the directionality of it. So you're one of those people, Yo Adrian. Yo Adrian has like gotten to the science of it. He goes, well, and you've probably done a whole lot of blood work to find out exactly what dose it is. And so shout out to you for doing the legwork for yourself. Most people, though, Yo Adrian, have a hard time adhering to that kind of discipline. You know, it's because it's a time-sensitive thing. You can't do it one day at 3 o'clock and then the next day at 4 o'clock, at 3 in the morning, then 4 in the afternoon, then 2 in the afternoon, and then at 11 in the morning. You know, you have to stay on top of that. So shout out to you for that discipline and doing that. This is true. To a certain extent, I want to go ahead and leverage Yo Adrian that you're probably relatively lean or in good shape already. Most people that have a lot of adipose tissue, like anywhere from 30 to 60 pounds of additional weight on their body, will struggle with that because when you inject testosterone daily into a fat soluble body, and that is somebody with a lot of adipose tissue, the conversion rate is much higher.
Wow.
Much higher.
How about that?
Okay, so you got to be really careful about that. And so most guys that get onto TRT are what? Just like me, I was 30 pounds overweight.
Of course.
Let's be honest.
Hey,
dude. You know, I'll give you the pictures for the next stream. Okay, you'll be like, "Holy, you're like, God, man, what happened to you, man? Who did you eat?" But you know,
holy God, I can't wait to see those pictures, man.
But the interesting thing is as you become lean, and you can be like Yo Adrian and start really dialing it in. But if you're overweight, you're going to struggle. So be cautious with that. Definitely defer to your provider's advisement on that.
That is excellent insight because not only do you acknowledge that Yo Adrian is right, you also added the nuance. Guys like Yo Adrian who are he's hyper disciplined, number one, shout out to him. He's probably lean, number two. That's the reason why he keeps his estrogen under control. But just like you said, for the average man just starting out on TRT who might not have the schedule or the discipline at that point to inject himself every day, plus when, you know, the more adipose, or is it adipose or endopose tissue you have?
It's adipose tissue. Yeah,
the more
that's what it is. I mispronounced.
No, it's okay.
The more fat you have.
The more fat, yeah. Look, the fatter you are, the higher the testosterone converts into estrogen. It converts at a higher rate. So very, very so in other words, you can kind of have the best of both worlds. At first you start off, you know, injecting twice a week or 3 times a week. Then when you get to where you are leaned out, if you really, really want to dial things in, then maybe you can skip the estrogen blocker and just microdose every single day, and it will be effective because you are lean. Does that sound about right?
I would agree with that statement 100%. And like you did, shout out to Yo Adrian. Good job, man.
Yeah, very good. Listen to this. He says, totally agree with you. Listen to this, dude. He says, I like to backload Yes, and I do this too, man. He says, totally agree with you. I like to backload 10 needles, 10 day in advance. Thanks for the love. I take it daily, first thing in the morning before I even brush my teeth. So yeah, that dude is dedicated. Kenty asks another very good question. He says, can you explain the testosterone flu?
The testosterone flu.
I think he might be talking about the keto flu, or is there such a thing as that? I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right.
And keto, you have broke me because you finally run it figures Donovan's stream, but I've never really heard of the testosterone flu. Could he be more specific? Maybe I'm thinking of it as something else other than the flu.
Yeah, be a little bit more specific, and I'll get to the next question here. Alan Burns says, good evening, Donovan from a wet Dublin, Ireland. He says, does TRT contribute to hair loss, as I'm doing my best to hold on to my nest as a man training in his mid-40s? Kind regards and much respect. Now, that is also a concern for most guys who are looking into TRT. I don't want to lose my hair. What's your answer for that?
And so, like, as you start working with your provider, this gentleman right here, if he's trying to hold on to the hair that he has left, the important thing is to keep the DHT in check. To keep monitoring your levels as long as your body doesn't convert over. So some people, when they do xenogenous testosterone, which is injecting testosterone therapy, okay, their DHT levels start to increase, which causes what? Male pattern hair loss. Hey, right here, I just gave it up.
Look, right.
I gave it up.
Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah. So for me, I'd rather feel like $1 million every day and go out and play like a champion than worry about my hair. For this gentleman right here, I would say monitor the DHT levels, and you're going to know really fast, because after starting therapy, if you tell your provider, hey, this is my concern with losing hair, you can do a DHT specific test. And if that really starts to rise, they can give you a counter supplement, something to actually counter that to protect the remaining hair. Yes, 100%.
That? I've also heard that if you are genetically predisposed to hair loss, that could also factor in as well.
100%.
Okay, very good. Because I'm genetically it's interesting. My father has a full head of hair. He's in his 60s. My brothers and I were all going bald. So I don't know how the hell that happened.
So it skipped you. It skipped him, and it skipped him and landed on you.
Unbelievable. But thankfully, I'm I do well enough in life to the point to where I can have things done to maybe stop or even prevent the hair loss. We'll see how that 100%. Goes. But yeah, I think that's I never even knew about the DHT. And what does DHT mean?
Oh, Donovan, I knew you were going to quiz me on that. I can't say
Hold on. I'll look it up. Hold on. I know. Look, I know DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid, but that's
I got it right here.
DHT.
Got it right here. I'll pull it right.
Dihydrotestosterone. Yeah, we knew that.
Yeah, there you go. I can't say that first word.
Okay. Oh, well, I mean, I can say anything. You guys know how that goes. But yeah, so DHT is dihydrotestosterone, and the higher the DHT, the higher the likelihood of hair loss, correct?
Yeah, 100%. And then, basically what this gentleman can do, like if he's really worried about it, is, he can do there's a lot of natural things like, foods rich in lycopene, such as tomatoes, watermelons, carrots, and mangoes naturally block DHT production. So it just depends on his diet. But you said this gentleman's in Ireland?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're probably primarily like meat and potatoes over there.
That's right.
They probably I don't know if they consume a whole lot of that. Biotin-rich foods like berries, liver, legumes, oily fish, and bananas can also help the skin condition with the scalp, creating an overall healthy environment for strong hair.
Very good.
So you can supplement, so in conjunction with what his provider would give him to help block that, he can also supplement. Just a quick search on the internet will help him with that.
Excellent. Joe Salazar says it's on my mother's side of the family that determines alopecia. Yeah, genetics do play a role, and this is the great thing about hormone replacement therapy is that it really does more or less sort of fill in the blanks where we are genetically deficient in masculine markers. Does that make sense? Like because listen, we all have. I remember I was like 16 or 17 years old, and I played baseball in high school, and I was a thin, wiry kid, but I'm a lot stronger. Like I'm one of those people. I'm a lot stronger than I look. I've been in many, many fights. I'm not proud of it, but I have fought men much larger than me, and like the surprise on their face when I hit them right in the jaw, like, holy shit, I can't believe this dude just like broke my jaw. This dude just gave me concussion. And so when I was 16, 17 years old, I was a strong dude. I could bench and lift as much as the rest of them. But there were just some guys on the team, Phil, that just had bigger muscles. They were just more ripped. And I always thought to myself, why do I can lift as much as those guys? Why in the world? I'm hitting balls 380 feet in high school to dead center field. I'm hitting home runs just like Adam Geis, who ended up going to Duke. Why can't I look like Adam Geis? Turns out it was genetics.
Yeah, it was 100% genetics. But see, the one thing is I would take the practical strength that you have over the aesthetic strength that they had.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You see what I mean? Because yeah. And so I just wanted to circle on the gentleman that talked about alopecia. You know, the secondary thing besides hereditary is going to be hormonal changes in the body.
There we go. There it is, man. There it is.
That's the number 2 cause of alopecia.
Incredible.
After hereditary.
Kristen Ramirez says, I just turned 27. Any tips on how I can keep my testosterone peak? Greetings, Donovan. Thanks for such an informative stream. Absolutely. So he's 27. He wants to make sure his testosterone is at its peak, I suppose, for as long as possible. What's your advice to him?
My advice to him is the very first thing. Anybody that's watching the stream or potentially will watch the stream in the future, because it never will go away. No. Go get your blood test. Go get your blood checked. Get a blood test. Most guys are walking around on the planet right now that have never even checked their testosterone, let alone their free test. And we can get into that in a timer whenever you're ready, Donovan. Okay. But the thing is guys, get your blood work done. Okay. It is so important to consider that, because the thing is if you don't have a baseline of where your numbers are now when you're young, like this gentleman here, and who's to say he's optimal? Right. He's 27. It could be 400. Oof. And he could just be, well, I'm young and, young, dumb, and full of cum. I would give this arm to be 27 years old.
Man, you are not. Oh my God, dude. Wouldn't that be nice? Jesus Christ. I could feel my knees again.
But the thing is it's amazing. But it's amazing, that, like I said in the beginning of the stream, is that, being a man is thankless, and we kind of put our head down and just grind it out, and we ignore these things. And so get your blood work done, get your blood checked. It is so important, guys, to do that. So that would be my first piece of advice to that gentleman, is to do that. Is to definitely get your blood work done.
Okay, very good. What are you looking for in your and I remember when I got my blood work done when I started working with you, you were like a wizard. Like, I couldn't understand anything on the page, and you're like, yep, this is high, this is low, I need to work on this, stay with that. What exactly are they looking for in terms of the markers? What kind of signs, what kind of levels are we, not to get too far in the weeds, but what are we looking for when we get the blood work done?
Well, this is actually a really good question. I just pulled it up on my phone. I was going to actually call out some of the labs that they need to look for first to kind of help them. Okay. So when it comes to being a man, and I'll even read it out for the ladies too, but this is for men. Okay. For male labs, when you come to a guy like me that points you in the direction of a provider, or if I'm going to work with you on the side or whatever it is, we check your estradiol. That's your estrogen. Your estradiol, your CMP, which is your composite metabolic panel. That's going to check like how your body is functioning. Liver enzymes, filtration, all that good stuff. CBC.
How's the engine running?
What's that? Yeah. How's the engine running? Where's your filtration at? Right. So I want to see, we want to see exactly how efficient your body is. If you got a slow liver or your kidneys are struggling a little bit, we need to address that first, right? We need to get that cleaned up. Your CBC, which is like your white blood cells, your red blood cells, and all of those specifics that go along with your blood to see if your blood in whole is healthy. Your lipid panel, that's going to be your cholesterols, your good, bad, and your neutral cholesterols right there. Your PSA, which is your prostate. And I wanted to touch on this really quick, Donovan. A lot of guys, they say, oh, well, it's going to mess my prostate up. It's going to give me cancer. I will tell you, before I got on hormone replacement therapy, and in my experience, I was more unhealthy then. Unhealthy diet, alcohol, high stress, and not taking care of myself, not training. My PSA numbers were much higher. I was 0.03 this last time. Excuse me, 0.3. Yeah, super low. Wow. And I've been on hormone replacement therapy for quite some time. your TSH, your free and total testosterone.
Okay.
Okay, because there's two different tests there, right? And then your insulin-like growth factor. Now that's a separate test, but you can ask the provider to test that for you. And that's just basically, we want to see how responsive your body is in the ability of putting on lean muscle mass. Okay. So, obviously insulin is actually the strongest compound in the body to build muscle, not to get off the topic, but it's important to understand that to see how your body responds to insulin. Are you insulin resistant? If you're insulin resistant, we need to, adjust your hormones and calibrate your body to where you become more insulin sensitive through training, nutrition strategy, and hormone replacement.
Okay.
For the females, real quick, I'm going to do this really fast for the females because I know this is immense.
You're good.
Because a girl might come along. This estradiol, CMP again, CBC, lipid panel, PSA, TSH, free and total testosterone. The difference between them and us is we like to test their progesterone. Okay, that's an important one right there. But to get back on the guys, the levels, when you get your blood work, I recommend everybody use LabCorp because you can set up a patient portal.
Yes. Patient
portal is great because once you do your first set of labs, you actually have your baseline labs. They never lose them. You can log into your portal. You can print them. You can view them. They're there forever.
Compare them. Yep.
So they're there. Okay. And then you start doing your therapy, or if you're not going to do therapy, you're just curious and say you wait 6 months and do it again. And if you see a decline in your testosterone levels, or if you see an increase in your ASOFT or your LSOFT, which is your liver filtration or function, your kidney function, or any other things, then it's time to go see a doctor or a provider to talk to them about that there's something wrong. Now, I think that it's important to understand that when you start dealing with blood work, obviously people want to push you into their narratives. Some doctors, they just want to sell pills. They do these things. And that's why I steer guys away from general care practitioners and towards people that specialize in hormone optimization therapy.
Really? Guys that so you're pushing them towards so don't go to the restaurant that serves the buffet. Go to the restaurant that serves something specific.
Yeah, go to the hormone replacement therapy specialist. 100%.
Okay, very 100%. Good. Excellent. Real quick, this is kind of a review here. I want to say Josefo Ruiz. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. He says, "Hi Donovan, what are the signs for low testosterone?" So briefly run down some of the mental and the physical signs for low T, so this guy knows where we're at here.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, 100%. Well, we're going to start with brain fog. That's you're having a hard time staying on task. A lot of people are mixed diagnosed with ADHD.
Right.
You ever heard that term before? Right. So the pill mill is going to say, here, pop the Ritalin or the Adderall here.
Oh my God.
It's like you're having a hard time staying on task. You have a hard time focusing. That's brain fog. Depression and anxiety, massive. Lack of social acuity or assertiveness. Okay. If you are a boss and you have employees under you and you do not act like a boss, you might have an assertiveness issue.
Wow.
Okay, where's that coming from? Where is that? Why aren't you assertive? You were promoted or you're in this position to be the boss and you aren't the boss. You're supplicating to your employees.
Yeah, of
course. Struggle with losing weight. Let's talk about the big one. If you aren't waking up at least 29 out of 30 days with a fucking... Excuse me, Donovan. I apologize.
Nope, that is all right, man. If you're not waking up 29 out of 30 days with a mean fucking heart on, then you got a problem.
If you can't cut granite, man, you got a problem. There's something off. Yeah, that's something to look for. It's like make morning wood good again, man. That's what you need to do. Is you got to think about that, right? You got to morning wood is a very good indicator that you're having a problem there in the hormone replacement department. Another one would be. We talked about the weight gain, just a lack of drive, being listless in life. A lot of these things, a lot of guys think it's a physical thing. And one of the last physical pieces would be having a hard time. Like if you go into the gym and you're hitting your nutrition and you're hitting your sleep, but you're not putting on any muscle and you're not losing any weight, you got a hormone issue.
Yes, definitely.
You're out of whack. I don't care who and what you are. You have a hormone problem. So those are some things to look out for.
Okay, very good. Joe Salazar chimes in again. He says, insulin resistance can also be a result from a poor diet. So important to feed yourself right. What are your thoughts because there are so many diets and, oh Jesus, like, don't get me started, because everybody has a different opinion. If your diet is, if you don't agree with their diet, your diet is going to end up killing you. You're going to have a heart. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. What is your opinion on the change of diet when you do start hormone replacement therapy?
Yeah, it's massive, because once again, like we were talking about at the beginning of the stream, it's not a silver bullet, right,
No,
Donovan? You gotta kind of be you gotta be an integrated man when you're doing this stuff. You gotta think about your sleep, your food, your nutrition, your training, and your hormones. You gotta kind of put it all together. So nutrition strategy is 100% important. The sad thing is, in today's world, people, instead of consuming like 80% whole, 20% processed, it's reversed, right? They're eating 80% processed, 20% whole. So of course, when you start making life changes, well, I'm not going to go out to eat so much. I'm not going to eat this cheeseburgers. I'm not going to go out to the drive-thrus anymore. I'm going to kind of start cooking at home. You are going to lose some weight initially.
Sure.
But insulin resistance is a chronic problem. Okay. And the insulin resistance comes from one thing, and that is from too many fast absorbing carbohydrates being introduced into the body.
There you go.
Repeatedly over a set of time. And you can reverse it. You're insulin resistant.
Sure.
That's through diet and exercise,
sure.
right? So I'm not saying carbs are bad, because I'm the one guy out there in the world saying eat your carbohydrates. It's just when and how you eat them,
right?
Right.
You got to keep your glycogen stores up. That's obvious.
Yeah, insulin resistance is 100% reversible. I've had clients that were pre-diabetic, type. What is it? Type 2 is the middle of the road.
Yeah, I think so, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
they're taking a pill. They're taking a pill for diabetes.
Yep.
And they're off all of that. It's incredible, man. I mean,
wow.
So, and it's just through adjusting. And we need to probably have a whole stream on that. Is the relationships that people have with food, man.
Woo! Wow, that is. You know what? That might actually be what we talk about on the next podcast. Wushu Viking says sleep and exercise is crucial for maintaining T levels at 35 plus years. Sunlight and proximity to young, beautiful women can also help. Now I agree. Well, of course. Now I agree with this to a degree, but maybe Wushu Viking at 35 plus, he might have the kinds of genetics to the point to where sleep, exercise, sunlight and proximity to beautiful women keeps his T levels high. But for the rest of us, it doesn't work that way. And again, not to talk trash about people who want to do it naturally, and I'm sure you've probably had these conversations before, but a lot of people, when we talk about this, they want to come in here and talk about, you got to do it natural because blah, blah, blah. Look, I get it. And if it works for you, that's fine. But everybody's everybody's body genome is different. What works for you isn't necessarily going to work for the next man, especially when we talk about natural ways of maintaining your T level. So what's your opinion on this sleep, exercise, sunlight, and beautiful women? I can't say I disagree.
I can't disagree with the Jen at all, man. He's 100% correct. But like I was saying in the beginning of the stream, it's a very, very, very small percentage.
Okay. Yep.
Of the population that can do that. And once again, for the average guy, like you were just saying, Donovan, those natural homeopathic directions might only net you like anywhere from 5 to 10%. Sure. So if you're already hypogonadal or low T, you're talking anywhere from like 20 to 40 to 50 extra points on your number. I mean, you're still in the tank.
Absolutely.
You're still suboptimal.
Absolutely.
You're not doing it. Now, if he has not abused his body his whole life, like most of us have, with drugs, alcohol, and food, and poor sleep habits, and high stress, and this, that, and the other thing going on in our lives, then maybe, he's that anomaly, and he can do that, and that is amazing for him. But I would still get your blood work checked.
You know who is a genetic? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go get your blood work checked. Go ahead, please keep going, because you're going to say something important.
You might be a genetic mutant right now, but I guarantee you, if you keep an eye on it, the older you get, the more
it'll catch up to you. One genetic freak. This is incredible. Have you seen the Ric Flair 30 for 30?
I haven't seen it all, but I've seen him.
Dude, Phil, it is incredible. And you and I, we're of the same generation. Dude, I loved all of them. Ric Flair, Lex Luger, Hulk Hogan. When I found out Hulk Hogan had the same birthday as me, everybody in my fourth grade class, there wasn't anybody in my fourth grade class that didn't know that myself and Hulk Hogan were both born on August 11th. But I digress. But the one part about the Ric Flair documentary that absolutely floored me is he was going through a time in his career. He was still in his physical prime. He was clearly doing heavy steroids to stay in wrestling. He's sitting on his therapist's couch because, they have to have head doctors because what they do is not easy, physically, mentally, spiritually, the whole nine. Yeah. And so the therapist asks, so how often do you drink? Like what do you drink and drink? He's like, at night I'll have, I'll have like 7 or 8 cocktails and, maybe 12 or 13 beers. And he says, how often are you doing this? He's like, every day. And the doctor said, wait, I beg your jargon? He's like, yeah, every day. I do that every night. He says, and you wrestle and you're running into men on purpose and flinging. Yep, every single night. Ric Flair is clearly the genetic anomaly. The fact that he drank in excess every single night while also wrestling every single night is an absolute anomaly. But if you look at him now, you can see that lifestyle clearly caught up to him. It took a little while. And I love Ric Flair and the woo and all that, but he looks a lot older than he really is because of that lifestyle. So if you are that genetic anomaly, if you want to keep it that way, don't take advantage of your genetic advantages because it will absolutely catch up with you.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the age, right, Donovan? It's the mileage.
Yes. Oh, you said that.
Mileage.
That's exactly right.
It's the mileage, man. That boy lived hard.
Man, he did, dude. But dude, who among us wouldn't want to live the life of Ric Flair?
The dream.
High blood pressure and all. I don't give a shit. Give me the herniated discs. Give me the knee replacement. Give me all of that, man. That dude fucked more women last week than I fucked my whole life, and that dude's got 1 foot in the goddamn grave. He's doing real well. Kenny Cherry says IF will get your insulin in a good place. Do you know what IF is? I think maybe it was responding to somebody. Josefo Ruiz. This is a diet question. He says, does fasting and keto help with testosterone? What's your opinion on that? And we can go more into depth when we talk about the food podcast because I think that's going to be very important.
Yeah. So real quick, we can just touch on that. So guys, I just want you to understand a couple of things. When it comes to nutrition strategies, training, and hormones, okay, there's a lot of people out there that are very zealous. And so you got to be cautious with that. One of the big things, and, hopefully Donovan, I can get some providers on one of the streams one time.
Absolutely.
IBF pros, and they can confirm this. They're 100%, providers. Okay.
100%.
They treat people. Okay. And one of the biggest problems with the carnivore and keto thing is people that are already overweight. They fast all day. They stuff a ribeye down the hole, and go train. Is what they're doing is they're driving their cholesterol through the friggin' roof. Okay. It is a problem. So I am not a big proponent of keto, carnivore, or anything zealous. I think that we were created, like human beings were created to be omnivorous, eat all different kinds of things.
Okay.
If you look at our teeth structure, we weren't just made to eat meat. We were made to eat grains, vegetables, all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
And so I caution guys all the time. And a lot of my clients come to me, they're like, hey, I've been carnivore, I've been keto, I've fasted. And I'm like, well, do you eat carbohydrates? Well, no, man, I'm going to get fat. And I'm like, well, hold on. I said, let's talk about that for a second. Okay. And I get them going on a program and I get them working through it. And they go, man, I can't, is this real? And I'm like, just trust me. And about 3 weeks in, the weight starts falling off and their body starts changing.
Okay.
Intermittent fasting. The gentleman was talking about using it. IF stands for intermittent fasting.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. And so he is correct. That will to a point help you with your insulin issues. I would agree with you because it's so restrictive. Okay. And the problem is a lot of people that are struggling, that are obese or morbidly overweight. And I'm going to say people that you are morbidly overweight to me if you're 70 pounds or greater. Than what you need to be. Okay, so when you put somebody on an IF program, it says, well, you can eat, you have to fast 18 hours and your feeding window is 6 hours. They generally lack the self-control after some time.
Yep.
And they start yo-yoing. So I discourage my guys from intermittent fasting. Now, if it looks like you're going to go, like say Donovan puts on a conference and he's going to have a big spread at night, you might not have the breakfast that he's going to have at his conference at the CME.
Sure.
And you might skip lunch because you're going to blow it out at dinner.
Right.
Now that's a good strategy for like traveling every once in a while.
Okay.
But it's better long term to actually have several meals during the day and feed your body, because fasting will actually retard your hormone levels. Carnivore, and I will debate
Wow, I did
people
not
to
know
the
that.
end. Carnivore and keto will tank your hormones over time,
Holy shit.
100% over
Wow.
time. And I'll
Wow.
debate. So if anybody sees the stream, I mean, you look, I'll go ahead and
Phil's like,
Amazon
see
you
me in
one
the
of those like rep
streets.
shirts.
Yeah, man.
We'll get
Let's
you this.
go.
We'll get you the stripes and the whistle, man.
I love it. I love it. He's
Yeah,
like, yo, if
that's
you
right.
disagree, you can see me in the store. You can see me in the weight room. God damn it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
um,
but he's right to a point. To the gentleman's point, intermittent fasting will help to a point, but you will only make it so far. Eventually, you're going to have to grow up and develop some self-control and discipline at
okay,
some
very good.
point.
One thing that Myron used to talk about all the time when we used to do our health streams, or our weights and dates stream, the one element of any diet and exercise program that he always used to make sure was in the forefront of your mind was adherence. You have to come up with something that you can adhere to. If you have the self-discipline to eat once a day, more power to you. There are many benefits. The truth is like genetics and like most men over 35, at some point life is going life is going to it's going to be a factor. So you need something that you can adhere to diet wise. Now let me ask you some, and there are other questions here, but I want to ask you this question. In my opinion, and I'm going to go back to the 80-20 thing. When you say 80% non-processed, 20% processed, what you're essentially talking about is eating clean. When you're eating clean, you are eating non-processed food: chicken, fish, steak, legumes, beans, Brussels sprouts, vegetables,
Fruits.
fruits. Yes, all kinds of things. Is that what we're talking about when we're talking about eating
What
clean?
what? Yeah, 80% whole.
Okay.
The closer to whole that you can get in your nutrition strategy, the better off you're going to be, especially hormonally.
Oh,
You got it. Like
okay.
here's the thing, man. If you go, when you guys go out to the grocery store this weekend to pick up dinner or something like that for the tribe,
Mhm.
or you just want to go out and just do some shopping, man, just walk. You can go around the outside aisles, and then you go through the middle aisles, and you just pick up any random box, and you look at the alphabet soup on that box.
Mm,
The chemicals and products that go
dude,
into these food products
it's
are just
incredible.
poisons,
Yeah,
man.
you can't even
It's
pronounce half of
insane.
them.
No. And so when I'm saying 80% whole, it's as close to whole as possible. So like you were saying, meats, all forms of meats, as long as it's not processed. And what I mean by processed is not packaged. You go to
Yes.
the meat counter. Obviously if you live in the Midwest or somewhere that's not near the ocean, your fish is going to be frozen, but you could do wild caught.
There you go.
The grass-fed beef, organic chicken. You want to look for things that are as close to whole as possible.
Okay. That is, to me, that's excellent advice, because if you're eating foods as close to whole as possible, you don't have to worry about carbs, or you don't have to worry about any of that stuff, because you're eating clean, and clean foods are good for you. That's just the bottom line. Clean foods are better for non-processed food beats processed food any day of the week.
100%.
Oh, Joe Salazar has a suggestion. So speaking of food, you may want to talk about certain foods that are estrogenic in nature. I put that in the notes for next week's podcast. Good energy in the chat today, guys. Appreciate that. Eben Zuer says, I came off TRT because I was concerned about fertility. A lot of people.
Finally.
There we go. Yeah,
Finally.
a lot of
I've
people
been waiting
talk
on
about
it.
infertility. So, what are your thoughts on the fact that TRT can cause men to become infertile?
Okay, so that's a really good question. That was Salazar?
No, that was Eben
Salazar?
Zuer. Eben Zuer.
Even Zuer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, great point right there, my friend. So if you're a younger guy and you are single, or you're dating with intention to get married, obviously watch some of Donovan's streams before you do that. But
Absolutely.
think about that real quick. But if you're looking to have children, you're looking to have, your offspring, your kids, there's certain strategies if you're low T that you can do, that providers can help you with. That's by boosting your testosterone naturally for a period of time.
Okay.
Say you're hypogonadal and they put you on HCG, a higher dose of HCG. HCG is a really good product because it will stimulate natural testosterone production, but the problem is it's only got a limited net return. And what I mean by that is you can only do it for a short window of time for a short gain. And so I will tell you that fertility can be an issue with TRT. Eventually, as you continue xenogenous testosterone therapy, you're putting your testes to sleep. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like this. Imagine if you went to the gym for 2 years, curled, all you did was leg press and squat. You'd have massive legs and small arms,
right?
Because you're not using your arms in the gym. Well, it's the same thing. You're not using your testes to produce testosterone anymore when you start hormone replacement therapy.
Okay.
So there is a decline in quality of sperm and viability. I can actually look that percentage up for you really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you're looking that up, yeah, guys, that is a real thing. Nothing comes without some sort of cost. So, if you're looking to increase your testosterone, but you also want to get married and have a family one day, if that's something that you're willing to do, by all means, I'm certainly not going to judge you for that. But if you're looking to increase your testosterone, you can do HCG, but you can't do it indefinitely. Now, explain real quick why you cannot be on HCG indefinitely and how long you can be on it before you cycle off.
Okay, so like this is I'm speaking from my own personal experience, Donovan, because everybody's different. Absolutely. But I will tell you that a lot of providers they're gonna prescribe you HCG, and one of the best things you can do is go on and off of it. What I mean by that is, every 10 weeks, maybe you do it for 10 weeks during your normal therapy protocol, and then for 10 weeks you don't do it. You just kind of set it back and hold on to it. And the reason why that is because you want your receptors to stay very, very active. When you introduce HCG to the body, you want your receptors to go, oh, okay, cool, and really stimulate the testes to produce that,
of course,
natural testosterone. So it's important to understand that. What I mean by that, that the long-term benefit of HCG is this: you can't do it for a long run like hormone replacement therapy and expect big returns.
Okay.
It's going to give you a bump. It'll be a bigger bump than natural, but it'll be a lot less than Xenogenis. On the fertility thing, it says Xenogenis testosterone reduces FS, which is luteinizing. Obviously, that's that feedback loop that we can talk about. Pituitary gland in the testes. Okay. It also impairs and fertility. Testosterone has actually been studied for use as male contraceptive, resulting as I can never say this word, azospermia, lack of sperm and semen within 4 months in 65% of men with previous normal sperm accounts. Okay. One way to balance that is by doing kind of like the gentleman did by dosing in microdoses. You can do smaller doses. Yeah. You may not be at peak therapeutic levels. You can increase your level with some testosterone and supplement with HCG and shield your testes enough if you are hypergonadal to still have children. Wow. I will tell you that I have clients that are on TRT that are young couples. Both of them were, both men and women were deficient, and they have kids.
Wow. Well, there you go. I also happen to know.
Did I lose you?
No. Can you hear me?
I lost you.
Oh, I think he probably. Okay, it looks like. Yeah, he's got to put in his other. Can you hear me now?
Wow. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
For a second, let me get my.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll answer questions.
It looks like I lost my audio connection for some reason.
Yeah, that's okay. So while Phil gets his his audio straightened out.
Where the hell did it go?
Frank Beltran asks, how about hair loss with TRT? Yeah, we actually just talked about this. As far as hair loss and testosterone replacement is concerned, obviously genetics comes into play. If you start TRT and you're genetically predisposed to hair loss, it could speed up the hair loss. But what you want to do to counter that is monitor your DHT levels, and DHT is dihydrotestosterone. You can order a specific test a specific test from your provider to measure where the DHT is. They will adjust your testosterone to lower that DHT, so it makes it much less likely that you are going to experience hair loss. So if you're concerned about hair loss and testosterone replacement therapy, again, get and monitor that DHT. Like Phil said earlier, your provider can provide you with that specific blood test to monitor that. Oh, can you hear me, Phil?
I'm back. My apologies. They clicked off for some reason.
No problem at all. Yeah, Final Boss says TRT is good, but it will make you stop making your own TRT. Make your own testosterone naturally. We also talked about that. We actually just talked about that with the HCG. Now, with the HCG, you can't be on that stuff indefinitely because you're not going to get as big a return. So what you should do, like Phil said, 10 weeks on HCG and 10 weeks off, and that will sort of shield your gonads, Now, that will shield your gonads and, have them continue to
the receptors.
The receptors. Now, when you do HCG with testosterone replacement therapy, not only are you increasing your testosterone synthetically, you're also increasing it naturally, which increases your testosterone that much more. Or do they cancel out?
Well, you are going to get a net return. So like the average dose is anywhere from 100 milligrams to 120 milligrams twice a week.
Okay.
And so like I've been on 120 milligrams twice a week now for probably 8 years of my life.
Okay.
And I cycle on and off of the HCG just so my receptors don't ever get burned out.
Absolutely.
Because see, one thing that happens is just like the gentleman's talking about is absolutely you will lose natural production. Your testes go through a process called atrophy, kind of like what I was talking about by squatting and doing legs and not the arms.
Woo.
And so HCG keeps that volume in your testes, keeps your balls, full, you want to build a windmill effectively.
Right. Yes. Yes.
It's just saying, man. You know what I mean? So it's,
I like that analogy. That's good.
Yeah, 100%, man. But the big thing is understanding that HCG, just for increasing testosterone is something that's a very short-term thing. If you are hypergonadal or low T, you're going to struggle to bring your numbers up to where you feel optimal. And that's what we want to treat is how you feel, not the number.
Okay. I like that.
If you're living your best life and you feel like you're living your best life, then your number's where it needs to be.
Okay.
If you say, hey, well, I'm still lagging in these departments in my life, then those need to be addressed, and we might turn you up, we might turn you down. Depends on, you might be running too hot, you might be running too low. We need to add a little bit or take a little bit away until we find that, it's almost like that pivot point, that balance point of your body. Once you're balanced, and you're going to know it, you're going to feel it. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, dude, trust me. Right now, dude, I can't believe, dude, I've been on your program now, and I was supposed to be on your program almost a year ago, but I had a cancer scare with my prostate, and so I had to stop everything and get that taken care of. But now the plumbing is good, everything is good to go, and it's been almost a month since I started. And like it is, and I don't want to say it was overnight because everything takes time, but I could feel the difference almost immediately, man. And it gets better and better and better. Here's a good question here from Wushu Viking. Says, does TRT make you more aggressive?
It absolutely can. And what I mean by that is this. Okay, and it's not necessarily like, there's a lot of misnomers out there, like you've heard this term, and I hate to say it, but like roid rage.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
I think that is actually more of an inability of somebody's emotional maturity, really. So they can't control their emotions. Okay, they have these outbursts and things like that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you're more aggressive, but you will become more assertive.
Right.
And so the acceptance of a beta male, and I hate to use this term, but
it is what it is, though, man.
Yeah, being beta is soft. You're going to let people walk all over you, cross your boundaries, disrespect you, and go. As your T levels increase, you are going to start inserting yourself and being more assertive. You're going to be like, it's like giving a cat a bath. You just don't do it. The thing is it goes against your biology at that point, because really men were put on this planet to do one thing, and that's compete and win
and fucking dominate. Absolutely. You better believe it.
I
would even say this, Phil. I would even say this. I would characterize it this way, because I'm a living example of a man who I had not started getting control of my emotions until just recently. So I know all too well what it's like. And even now, still I struggle with it, but I think I would characterize it this way. When you're on TRT, you become just a little bit less tolerant of bullshit, Phil. That's really what it comes down to. You become more sensitive to bullshit because your biology is telling you, whoa, this is fucked up. This is what happens, and it's so funny. I catch a lot of heat on the internet. Oh, Donovan, you need to calm down. Destiny said this. He's just a dude on the internet, and Abman preached it. the reason why I get so furious at those guys is because that's the man in me understanding that what they are doing is disrespectful. And what makes me angry and makes me emote that anger is the fact that they're not saying it to my face because they know that I would absolutely crush their face. That's what I mean. And so when we talk about roid rage, to me, Phil, roid rage, that to me, that's like shaming language. That don't get on TRT, boys, because you don't want to go into roid rage and be like Chris Benoit, who killed his entire family. No. Chris Benoit didn't go into roid rage and kill his family. He had already had suicidal and homicidal ideations well before he started doing steroids. He already had mental problems.
Sadly.
And that was dude, I used to love Chris Benoit, dude. The snap suplex, the Canadian crippler, he was my guy. But that's really what it is. Do not let the world shame you out of taking testosterone replacement therapy because of roid rage. Now, on the other end of that, just like Phil said, you do have to have a level of maturity and control over your emotions, because trust me, those emotions will come. And when you are on TRT, you will become less tolerant to bullshit. The way you respond to it, now that's up to you. But does it make you more aggressive? It certainly makes you feel that way because you're less tolerant of bullshit. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, 100%. I mean, being able to emotionally regulate yourself, right? That's being an integrated male, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You do not let things bother you anymore unless unless that boundary has been crossed. You plant your flag and say, hey, it's not. You won't be an aggressive. You aren't going to be out there like a silverback, going wild and ripping stuff apart. You know what I'm saying? It's just you're just more assertive, and I think. The problem is when guys start waking up on hormone replacement therapy, they go, what? They probably do get a little bit angry.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
First off, they get angry at themselves because they put up with far too much shit for far too long.
That's right.
And then they start waking up to the fact that, man, I've really let my life get away from me.
Man, oh man.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I don't know how many emails I get, Donovan. They're like, man, I waited too long.
Oh, dude!
I can't believe I waited. What have I? I've wasted so much of my life, and I'm like, dude, God. It's okay.
It's all right, man. Yeah, it's okay. Mike A says there's a honeymoon phase that's common for about a month. Then you feel more normal if the dose is right for you. I would agree with that. What say you?
I would say I would say 100% after about your post 4th or 5th shot of hormone replacement therapy, you're going to start notice some massive changes. First thing, like if you have a woman in your life, it's on. It is on. Yeah. And that's just because, and the reason why that is because your body's been asleep for so long, Donovan, that your hormone receptors go to sleep.
Yeah.
So there's no testosterone. So they all start, shutting down. Well, when you introduce the testosterone into your body, you 100% start feeling these receptors opening up, and you're like, man, you're once again, your sexual prowess, who you are as a man, all these things are going to start waking back up. And so that honeymoon phase is not necessarily a honeymoon phase. I would say that's you waking up to the real man you are.
Okay.
So it doesn't really necessarily go back to normal. It just kind of goes into who you are as a man.
How about that?
You start waking up.
I'll tell you this, Phil. I was never, ever a morning sex guy. Ever. And Devin will tell you that. I started this program, again, 1 month ago. I think we've had sex 3 times. I'm not a morning sex guy, but dude, I'll wake up. I'll be, oh shit, I got to do something about this. Oh, there she is. Let's get it on. Listen, man, it will absolutely work that way. Let me ask you a question, because I think a lot of people, I want to talk about the blood work because we're rounding third and heading for home here. Where do you recommend guys get their initial blood work done? I know we covered this already, but for those just joining, the first step in TRT is getting your blood work done. Where and when should you get it done?
So the best thing to do is, depending on what state they live in, right? So you got to kind of gauge that. I think, because the silly laws had changed, there was that's what one of the big things I used to do was help guys get pointed in the right direction. But the thing is understanding whatever state you live in. So I live in Texas, so I would get online onto Google, and I would just put in, and you got to be really careful, but you could just go to your Google search bar and you just put in TRT therapy via telemedicine.
There you go.
Via telemedicine.
I think you can now do it with Roman, if I'm not mistaken. I think Roman is now doing TRT. They're a telemedicine company.
Yeah, but and see, their provider has to be licensed in the state
Absolutely.
that you're in,
Okay.
and so, you know, in the future, when you have some of these providers on, they can definitely really answer that. But,
Good.
do your homework, really check them out, vet them. You don't have to go to brick and mortar. If you go to brick and mortar, you're going to pay way out the nose.
Through the nose,
I
dude.
will, yeah, through the nose. I will tell you that, once you get your telemedicine, get your blood going, there's some upfront expenses. Your
Sure.
blood work's going to run anywhere from 150 to 200 bucks.
Yep.
And then your first consultation and therapy package are going to come together. That's going to be anywhere from $300 to $400 for 10 weeks.
Yep.
Well, if you calculate that out, say you have to go you're going $400 a month at brick and mortar versus $400 for 10 weeks. You see, it's $40 a week versus
160 a
you
month
see what I mean?
versus 400 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference. It's a big savings. Another one you guys can look at is FSA. If you have insurance, healthy HSA and FSA.
Okay.
A lot of providers do that, but they do not take insurance, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason why a lot of providers that do telemedicine do not take insurance is because insurance will only pay. Once again, I hate to go tinfoil hat.
Dude,
I don't have.
You're right. I know where you're going, but I agree with it. It's the mill, man. They don't. The reason why they don't cover telemedicine is because they want you to go to brick and mortar so they can charge more, so they can bill more. That's why.
Man, and they also want to control your number.
Of course,
okay?
absolutely.
So the insurance company might say, "Well, we'll give him therapy, but only up to 600."
There you go. Controlling your number.
Yeah, and so really and truly, you guys, you want to go somewhere that you can either cash pay, and that's what I do. That's how I do mine. 100%. I pay cash. It's not a big deal.
That's right.
And if you have insurance, you get the FSA or HSA. You can use that, but you won't be able to use insurance. Be cautious on people that overpromise and underdeliver when you start doing your homework. Obviously, maybe I need to go ahead and put a pool of providers together, maybe for one of these streams. Donovan,
I think you probably should, man. I think that would be good for the next episode as well. Mike A in the chat, this is actually a good comment. He says, for me, 100 milligrams a week put me at 1588 total, and I dialed it down. Yeah. So he was running high. So he said he dialed it down to 80 milligrams, and he's currently at 1200, but everything is good. So there again, he was at 1588. He's like, holy shit, I feel like the Incredible Hulk, but this is a little too intense for me. I need to. Okay, there we are. So he's still the Hulk. He's probably like a lighter shade of green rather than that crazy green when the Hulk was tearing up. When the Hulk was tearing it up. Wow, 15. Dude, I wish I could do 100 milligrams a week to get. Actually, I do. What do? I do 200 milligrams a week. I don't. Mine isn't that high at all.
Yeah. So you're just splitting your dose, like you're doing
absolutely.
The right thing.
Yep,
and this Jen here, the one thing I would caution him on is with his T that high, and only doing one. He's only doing one dose a week, right?
80 milligrams per week. Yeah. So if he's doing 80 milligrams a week, he's probably splitting it up 40 milligrams on Monday and Thursday. I do my shots.
I would split that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I do my shots. So here's how I calculated this. There are 100 and give me 2 seconds because this is why I think this is one of the many reasons why I've been so successful with this. Give me 2 seconds. So there are 168 hours in the week. And so I make sure that I do my injections exactly 84 hours apart. And here's how it's calculated. Let's just say, for example, you do one injection at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, right? The next injection you will do is 84 hours. So there's Sunday night to Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, then there's 12 hours, okay? So you're going to do one on Sunday night at 8 o'clock, then you're going to do one on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. That is precisely 84 hours apart. So your levels will stay as precise as humanly possible if you do it that way. This doesn't mean that if you do it at Sunday at 8 o'clock at night and then do it on Thursday at 8 o'clock at night that it's going to throw things off. No, you're pretty close to that. But if you really, really, really want to dial it in and you're only doing 2 injections a week, I've done the math for you. 84 hours between injections. So pick injection number 1 then calculate 84 hours from now. 84 hours is 3.5 days. 3 days, gentlemen, 72 hours. 72 plus 12, boys and girls, is 84. So again, it's 3.5 days. So let's do the math again. Let's say you do your first injection at Monday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. So Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning. Then you add that. That 12 hours. Now it's going to be Thursday evening at 6 o'clock p.m. Exactly 84 hours apart.
Yeah, that's amazing right there. I mean, that is being so precise.
Yeah.
You know, that's every provider's wet dream when guys want to do their due diligence like that too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because the big thing is like the gentleman that was at 15, you said 1538, right?
15,
and dialed it back.
Dude, 1588. Whoa.
Yeah. And so he dialed it down to 80 milligrams a week.
Yep.
You know, when a provider can actually work with you, and he probably told his provider, "Hey, I'm feeling this. This is how I feel." And she's like, "Okay, well, let's turn you down a little bit and see what happens."
And now he probably feels a lot better.
And he's like, once again, it's about how you feel, guys. It's not a number thing.
Okay.
It's how do you feel? How are you living your life? How do you feel about your life? How do you feel?
I like that. And remember, everyone's number is different. Some guys might feel just fine at 1588. That's not going to be most guys, but some guys might be the genetic anomaly in that regard. Some guys might feel better at 1950 than they do at 1150 or 950. Jesus, 1950.
Yeah.
Some people might feel better at 950 than they do at 1120. This is when you have to check in with yourself. You really have to sort of, and I know that we're all busy, but every once in a while, just kind of sit down and think to yourself, how do I feel physically right now? How do I feel emotionally right now? If X were to happen, how would I respond? Or just pay attention to how you're responding. So for example, if you're a little bit too intense and you're a little bit too reactionary, go get your blood checked. And if you're at 1300, okay, I'm feeling a little hot right now. Let's dial things back, maybe get it to 1100. And maybe you run better at 1100 than 1300. So there are different things that you can do. But just like Phil said, it's all about how you feel, not only physically, gentlemen, but mentally. How sharp is my brain? How responsive, how reactionary or lack thereof am I? Am I putting up with a certain level of bullshit? Am I letting people walk all over me? Am I being too aggressive? Am I being too assertive? I think people have to check in. I think people have to check in with themselves every once in a while.
It's kind of funny because you do the content you do, and when I text you, I'm like, "Hey, how do you feel?"
You do all the time. You do all the time.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I'm like, dude, I feel absolutely wonderful. I feel like I can crush someone, and Phil's like, okay, maybe we need to dial it back a little bit, just a little bit. And I'm already a high octane guy. Last question before we get you out of here, Phil. How often, when you start testosterone hormone replacement therapy, how often should a man get his blood work done?
That is an amazing question. Whoever asked that is
that was on my notes.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Well, Donovan, amazing question.
That was for me.
I will tell you this. So you're going to do your precursory blood work before you start therapy to get a baseline. And then you probably will, your provider might say to you, okay, like Donovan, we're going to have you go for 10 weeks. And then I want to do your blood work one more time and see where your levels fall.
Okay.
And then after that, it's about every 6 months. If you're happy with how you feel and she's comfortable with the number or he's comfortable with the number and where it's at. So it's about every 6 months after that.
Okay.
Now, if you start feeling a little bit off, like say you're 20 weeks into your therapy and you start feeling a little bit off, or you don't feel like it's not doing enough for you. Once again, like Donovan was saying, check in with yourself. Then maybe you could be a guy like me where you metabolize it fast and your levels might be actually lower than that honeymoon phase that gentleman was talking about earlier.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, so get your blood work done, and then it's like, oh, well, my levels have declined. So you talk to your provider and she's like, okay, well, add 20 milligrams and let's see where you go in 6 months. Let's see how you feel.
Okay.
And in 6 months, you do your blood work again. But once again, it's how you feel. It's important to do what Donovan said and just do that check-in with yourself. Find out exactly how you are. How are you?
So the short answer to that question is, by and large, every 6 months or as needed. So if you're feeling a little bit so if it's before 6 months and you're feeling a little bit of brain fog, something feels off, get your blood work done, guys. If you think you're running a little too hot, maybe you're a little too high octane, get your blood work done. When in doubt, gentlemen, get your blood work done. It is worth the $200. It really, well, the $100 to $200. Phil, this has been a fantastic maiden voyage, man. what makes for a good podcast when I do something with somebody is that I learn something from them every time. I have learned probably just as much as our guys in the audience. Thank you very much for making the time and the commitment to do this, man. Any last thoughts on testosterone replacement therapy for dummies?
Yeah, 100%. I would say, guys, get your blood work done if you've never had it done. I don't care how old you are. And there's no shame. And if you are deficient in testosterone and you're not living your best life, there's no shame in treating yourself, man, and doing a therapeutic dose of testosterone.
Absolutely.
Don't let the naysayers in your life or what you see on social media, don't let those things skew who you feel you need to be and who you want to be in your life. Don't do that. Donovan, man, thank you for the opportunity to do this with you.
Absolutely, man. And this is going to be awesome. And by the way, guys, we are going to be doing sort of a mini meetup at the end of season 1, guys. We're going to be doing a CME fitness meetup, and we're going to be doing it there in Dallas, Texas, near where Phil lives. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for details on that. Mike A, last comment, he says, I could talk about TRT all day. Yeah, so could Phil. That's why we're doing this. Phil, thanks once again. Thank you.